Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the whole magazine. Walker wants to say something. I can tell.
Why?
Why?
Why the whole magazine?
Because you didn't like
us.
You literally, folks, listen to the fucking podcast, the last podcast, and Walker was like, "I still don't like the title of the podcast." There's no pleasing you. Are you a woman?
When you first met Brandon, can you explain to us what
You would have trouble pleasing a woman.
2 kids later.
2 kids.
How many kids you guys have? Oh, hold on. Never mind. All right. Anyway, I'm joined, of course. You already heard them. You know them. You love them at this point. We have Walker in seat number 2. How's it going, buddy?
Hi.
How's it going? We have Hayes in seat number 3.
I still think he should tell us what he thought of you when you told him that you had a podcast called what was it called?
I told him the story.
What was it called?
The Quantum Consumer Podcast.
Oh, that's
So-
right.
Which was an easy way of guaranteeing that no other podcast or network would possibly have that name. So that it served its function really well.
Let him finish the introductions, and then I can tell the story that Hazel.
Yeah, okay. And of course, in seat number 4, we have Tyler.
How's it going? We're all extremists and happy to be back.
Yeah, we are extremists by definition. You know, definitions are constantly changing.
Cobra Command is giving out really good healthcare.
I also want
For
to...
legal reasons, I would like to say that I am not an extremist.
Yeah, we are all not extremists, but we're just labeled that way by the left.
I'm
Anyway,
extremely
social
cool.
plugs real quick. Social plugs. We have, of course, the YouTube, which is by the same name as the podcast now. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Go ahead and join those so you can comment on the podcast itself, as well as give us some suggestions as to things you want us to talk about. But Walker, go ahead and know with your story there.
So the story is, in the first few minutes of meeting Brandon, I told Hayes what my thoughts were. If you probably remember this day, you had to go over to S1 and pick me up, and you're like, "Hi, my name's Cox."
Did I even
Actually, no, I introduced myself with my first name, and you introduced yourself with your first name.
Did I even mention the podcast to you
within
first day?
the first few minutes of meeting me? Like within the first few minutes of us sitting outside at the smoke pit, you invited me onto the podcast.
That is literally
let him tell you. No,
you know
no,
why? Because that was after I started actually doing it properly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, but you gotta listen to this. I know
that's
you've
funny.
heard this before, but it's so much funnier.
So basically, my thought process was: you walk in, and I hear your voice, and I'm like, "All right, it's probably gay." Like my gaydar was going on, right? Which is fine. It's
Ping.
okay, but it's just something that I can
Ping.
notice.
RWR going off.
You threw me off a little bit when you said you were married, but I do know now that you are, in fact, a raging homosexual.
Raging homosexual.
So, do the couple bits of in-processing and stuff into the unit. We walk over to the smoke pit while we wait for the barracks manager so I can get a room, which was also a clusterfuck. But within the first few minutes of you talking to me at the smoke pit, you're like, "Yeah, I've got a podcast. Like, you should be on it." And I'm like, "Okay, what's it about?" You're like, "Oh, we talk about science stuff a lot." And I'm like, "Oh no, he is gay."
The last time
And
we
then-
talked about science ever.
And then I was like, "Okay, what's the name of the podcast?" You're like, "The Quantum Consumer Podcast." And I just pegged you as like the I fucking love science type person. I was like, "Wow, this is really gay."
Which is hilarious.
I just thought that you were going to be like, I didn't think we were going to be good friends at first. And then
Look at us now.
You think he was like, what, Bill Nye's lover or some shit?
yeah, basically Bill Nye's lover. That's what I thought he was.
Yeah, look at us now. Look how far we've come.
Which side did you drink from?
Anyway,
We started at the bottom and we're still here.
yeah. Now, of course, we have our traditional alcohol review. Today we're doing the 1890s recipe for a whiskey sour.
Which,
Hayes won't be able to.
No.
Hayes is
I
not
like it
joining
without
us
the
on this.
goddamn
He
egg
is-
in it.
he
Fuck
is
your
in
egg.
fact
One at a time.
a
one at
pussy.
time.
Fuck your eggs.
What's the timestamp?
4.
Can we get a vote?
He's a raging
4:25.
faggot.
Can we get a vote on pussiness of Hayes? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, leave in the comments. Go ahead and join. I'm going to make a poll of how much of a quivering vagina Hayes is on the socials. Go ahead and go over there.
Fuck you.
And
Fuck
let us
your
know.
eggs. Just give me the straight drink.
But today we're doing a 1890s whiskey sour. So it's the oldest known mention of the whiskey sour dates back to 1862, but it's actually thought to have existed for at least a century before that. The classic ingredients of an ounce of lemon juice, an ounce of simple syrup, and 2 ounces of Woodford Reserve is particularly the recipe.
Woodford Reserve is a very old...
Particularly, that's the recipe we're using right now. Woodford Reserve. You can really switch it out for any bourbon of your choice. and an egg white. In fact, the addition of the egg white actually didn't appear until the year 1890. Arguably, the addition of the egg actually makes it for a superior cocktail. It's actually phenomenal, velvety, soft, and you of course top it with Angostura bitters, lending you some delightful aromas as you are enjoying the beverage.
So it's really good, just straight, as just no egg. It's good. I like it.
So
It's a little sour, but that's the point.
it's a whiskey sour.
I just said that.
In
It's
his next,
a little sour.
in his next
This
drink,
is sour.
Your jerky's a little dry.
in his next drink, just put a fucking deviled egg right in the middle of it.
This is exactly like the time I was like, "Here, try my homemade jerky." He goes, "It's a little dry." I was like, "Thank you." I just spent 12 hours drying it out.
Right? hey man, your jerky's dry. Oh, thank fuck for that. Seems I did it right. Oh,
I
thank
was
the Lord.
like, I didn't even mean it as like, when I said that, I didn't even mean it like, oh, that's bad. It was more like a observation. I was like, I'm just gonna tell him what I think. He did it right.
It seemed like it was a criticism at the
No,
time.
no, I didn't mean it like
He
a
took a
criticism.
bite
no.
and he goes, "It's kind of dry."
You know that,
Fine, in that
meat
exact
you just
tone.
smoked? Yeah,
Kinda
it's a little bit
fucking-
too smoky.
Kind of fucking dry. Powerful. Only from Hayes.
But no, I definitely do not like the egg.
Okay, so first off, the traditional or the more like basic version of the whiskey sour is still an incredible beverage. The addition
One
of
of my
the
favorite
egg white does some real marvelous things with the texture, with the flavor, and everything. The egg white turns into almost like a foam that rests on top of the drink. You can then layer, as you can see here, Angostura bitters on top, so you get the olfactory sort of feedback of it smelling delicious. Now, the egg white, in my opinion, tends to have the habit of clinging on to the sweetness of the drink, and so you can take a small sip from the top. That just gives you like the light, fluffy flavors of the
Kind of
egg
like
white mixing with the
Meringue.
yeah, like almost akin to a meringue.
Or like it kind of reminds me of a lemon meringue pie.
Unless you get the mouthful of bitter.
And then diving into the beverage when you're taking an actual sip of the liquid underneath is you get the delicious combination of flavors from the lemon juice, the simple syrup, and the delicious Woodford Reserve that's waiting there in the lid. It's just with this particular it's such a beautiful combination.
Got layers.
Yeah, it's perfectly citrusy, balanced with sweetness,
Might try
velvety
this
texture.
with a scotch at some point.
Would you like a glass of campfire wine? It's going to be delightful. Grab your hot dogs.
Well, I wouldn't do it with Lagavulin, but
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh,
maybe Glen Merengue.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about the cocktail? Is that good?
that's
Don't get me wrong.
that's a whole different element.
It's
to
it's pretty good. And so
For a quickie,
I actually
leave out the egg white because you have to
actually
shake it
think
for 30
it's-
seconds.
it's too high class for like just normal consumption.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's really going to take the time. I mean, like I just did where I spent the better part of like 6-7 minutes making 4 cocktails. Only for Hayes to be a bitch. Yeah, I don't think this is not really a party beverage. I don't think if you're making like onesies and twosies for a group of people that might want one, it's a little bit more because you have to shake.
One of the
you
things
have to
that I
shake
like
each
about
cocktail for about over half a minute.
Yeah, imagine you go to a club and they're like, "Yeah, can you make this for me?" It's like, "No, fuck you, dude."
well, I mean, if you go to a good like cocktail bar, this is the kind of thing you could get. But that's like an expensive, high class cocktail bar that I probably wouldn't be going to anyway.
Honestly,
a lot of mixed drinks that I drink, I make myself. So normal whiskey sour, where it's just simple syrup, lemon juice, whiskey, super simple, super easy to make,
also
super good,
really delicious.
really, really delicious.
And it's
adding
quick
the
too.
egg white to
Very
it,
quick.
It might be worth it to a lot of people,
If I were coming home from a day's work,
but it'd be like a special occasion. Type thing.
if I were to come home from a day's work, I'd be more inclined to do it with the egg white. If I had a really shit day at work, I'm just going for the fucking the classic. Just
At a certain point, I'm
without
just
the
going to
egg
start
white.
drinking straight whiskey.
At that point, yeah, if it's a terrible day, if a family member died, I'm just drinking from the bottle. Okay, that's all that's happening.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I get home from work, it's either straight or I just make it sour without the egg white.
delicious, citrusy, refreshing. It's a good summer drink.
It's a good summer drink.
Almost.
You should have
actually,
one, Hayes.
Actually, I would say that this version of the cocktail is more dessert-like than the standard cocktail. You know what I mean? A standard whiskey sour is just a casual drinking cocktail. This one would probably be more like a dessert for me, at least.
So completely off topic, but I just remembered this. You know, you can do this now. Look around the room and see any surface. You know exactly what it would feel like to lick it.
Why are you looking
What?
at Hayes like that?
What?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at a surface. You know exactly what it would feel like to lick
I
it.
wonder if that's just because you've been touching things. It's not necessarily requiring
Since you're
you
just
to.
like a kid, you just lick things.
I mean, I don't even think it's that. It's like how different really is me doing this to my tongue, like running my
your
hand
tongue,
on the table.
Your tongue and your
It's just gonna
hands
be
have
wet.
different.
It's just gonna be wet.
Why don't you lick some bitches?
Hayes, you're talking to the wrong one there.
Moving on.
I don't
Okay.
believe you. You haven't done
So
it.
we are all aware of the news. We're all on the news, looking at shit. The world's falling apart.
Unfortunately.
Monkeypox
Thank goodness
is
for
a thing
monkeypox.
now. This is actually what we know about monkeypox. The CDC states that it can spread to anyone through close personal, often skin-to-skin contact, including direct contact with monkeypox rash, scabs, or bodily fluids from a person with monkeypox, touching objects, fabrics, clothing, bedding, or towels, and surfaces that have been used by someone with monkeypox, contact with respiratory secretions. The direct contact can happen during intimate contact, including oral, anal, vaginal sex, or touching the genitals, which is, by the way, penis, testicles, labia, and vagina, or the anus, in parentheses from the CDC, butthole. Yeah, a professional organization put in parentheses that anus means butthole. That's how little faith they
I
have
a
in
question
us.
for Hayes. Where are the labia located?
Kill yourself.
Moving on.
I wouldn't even answer that, even if I did know.
The CDC also says that it can come from hugging, massage, and kissing, prolonged face-to-face contact, touching fabrics and objects during sex that were used by a person with monkeypox, and that can have not been disinfected, such as bedding towels, fetish gear, and sex toys. Later in the whole article or the report for monkeypox, they said CNBC actually said this, and the CDC also said that the outbreak of 2022, the situation summary, what you need to know section, it says, CDC is tracking an outbreak of monkeypox that has spread across several countries that don't normally report monkeypox, including the United States. The monkeypox virus is spreading mostly through close, intimate contact with someone who has monkeypox.
Yeah, but who has the
Essentially,
monkeypox?
I'll get there.
Who has
Essentially, an STI. Okay, the CNBC says that men who have sex with men are at higher risk, or the highest risk now. But anyone can catch monkeypox, and the virus could start to spread more broadly. Okay, so this is basically them admitting that it is essentially going to be a plague amongst the LGBT community.
I can't
okay?
wait to find out that this is actually my fault for being straight. I can't wait to be like the
So-
oppressor in this relationship again.
I bet you
somehow.
you can pull it up on Twitter probably right now that someone's blaming straight people.
Oh yeah,
It's got to be our fault. It has to be. Everything's our fault.
Thank you. You're very courteous. So
What do you do?
he went away from the mic when he bit into the baguette. So this is them, CNBC, okay, which is okay. It's a leftist source, yes,
Yeah.
which is typically a good thing to get your news from. They are admitting that right now, and before actually, it would be considered like homophobic to mention this.
Right.
Actually, I think it was yesterday or the day before, on the way back from work, I heard on the radio a man, I think in the Washington state government, I think, Travis something, who is a member of LGBTQ, was actually sending a actually appropriate message, which was people telling you, if your doctor is telling you that since you have sex with other men, if you are a man yourself, you are more at risk to monkeypox, it's not homophobic. It's actually caring for you and giving
That's
you information.
interesting. It's almost like risky sexual behavior begets risk somehow.
So,
I don't know. Like, is that really crazy? I'll tell you what is crazy though. I saw a tweet, some like LGBTQ activist like on Twitter. It's like, yeah, I was around in the fucking 90s when people were saying don't have sex because of AIDS and whatever. And he's like, oh, let me just tell you something. That's not a responsible way to get people to act safely. You can't just tell them not to have sex. It's just not going to work.
More people would be alive now if they stopped having sex during the
What's interesting enough
That's not how that works. Walker.
suggesting abstinence.
Yeah, it's like
It's like the worst
unreasonable.
thing.
It's unreasonable.
Thus
in their
pointing
opinion.
to my point of hypersexualization in our current society.
no such
So
thing. There's
You
no
don't
such
understand.
Thing.
I need to have sex with
I
random
have
people.
to go into a public porta potty, eat shit, and take it up the ass. I have
hurt.
I have to have someone spank my balls. It's just I just have to.
It's funny. You can suggest abstinence, but when it comes to COVID, it comes mandates.
Yep.
Mandate
Mhm.
vaccines,
They mandate
mandated
things.
masks.
No more
Of
autonomy.
course.
No more bodily autonomy.
Of course,
it's
the,
gone.
the idea of like the sex police is like comically hilarious to me.
Yeah.
It's like, we said no sex. No, take him to jail where he'll get raped.
Bonk, go to horny jail.
Go bonk, go to horny
Islam
jail.
is right about gays. Ooh.
So now let's also keep in mind that Biden
Gays
also,
might
without
actually be
fail,
extreme.
Biden also declared a state of national emergency. The Biden administration is declaring monkeypox a public health emergency as the United States breakout has grown into the largest in the world. How many people do you think that is?
5,000.
6,000. You're close. Right on the money. Very important note. So, folks, we have to declare a national emergency whenever a disease spreads to 0.01% of the American population. 0.01%.
They're the most precious resource America has.
0.01% of the American population.
Without that 0.1% of people in America, like how could we spread democracy to the other countries of the world without their permission?
To quote an Onion article, gays are simply just too precious to send into combat.
Yeah. They're our most precious resource.
Point.
The strategic reserve of homosexuals is at an all-time
Okay,
low.
so-
America cannot. They can't function without San
It
Francisco.
can't exist without gay people.
No
It's
San Francisco,
crazy.
no America.
Let's sit here for a moment. Okay, 0.01% of America's population has this thing called monkeypox, and we're declaring a national state of emergency for public health. Okay, if you're under the delusion that this is purely because the government cares about you, you're again sorely mistaken. They are going to do the same shit, or they're going to try to do the same shit they did with COVID. I guarantee it. It's going to
Just
happen.
in time for primaries.
So, coincidence? I think the fuck not. But we have other good news. Okay, so aside from that stupid, shitty news, Texas Governor Abbott has to be the. You have DeSantis, who is a Chad governor, and as well as Governor Abbott, who's a Chad governor, who has sent over 6,100 immigrants from Mexico to Washington D.C. The Texas Governor Abbott is doing a completely fair thing, by the way. After the new administration had taken over, the United States border had been wide open because of one of Biden's many executive orders. Executive Order 13993, dated January 20th, 2021, effectively revoked Executive Order 13768, named Enhancing Public Safety in the Interior of the United States, which outlined the importance of proper enforcement of our country's immigration laws to protect national security and public safety in the United States. It also detailed that tens of thousands of removable immigrants have been released into communities across the United States since their home countries actually refused to accept them. Trump's executive order allowed law enforcement to do their jobs at the borders. Biden's executive order destroyed that. Biden's executive order, which he signed a couple months after his presidency, effectively did not allow Border Patrol agents to execute and uphold the law. The amount of encounters at the border soared to more than 200,000 encounters at some estimates, okay? The most affected states were, of course, Texas, since Biden's executive order didn't allow immigrants to be sent immediately back to Mexico to their home countries. Governor Abbott found a different solution. The immigrants were offered, and are still being offered, a free bus ride to Washington, D.C. Why is this such a fantastic thing? Because it proved and showed once again the incredible hypocrisy of the left. You see, immigration isn't a problem until Congress people must deal with it on their home turf. Remember that this is the party that offered and promised so much to the immigrants who were enticed to enter the United States due to Biden's policy. In another expert move, Governor Abbott is also starting to transport immigrants to New York. In relatively short order, Congress and the left swiftly changed the tune of their music. And now they are finishing Trump's wall. The language, of course, was naturally changed to filling in the gaps, which we mentioned on the podcast previously. You see, illegal immigration is completely fine when it only affects red states. In a flurry of swift and diligent misguidance, the left is indeed finishing Trump's wall. The thing that was shouted over the rooftops for all of Trump's presidency as being racist and bigoted is being finished by those same people. Magical.
I think this is highlighting how the federal government is falling out of grace with the United States Constitution. Why in the fuck are they trying to come up with all these policies, everything in general, to tell the state's governor, hey, this is how you should lead your constituents, not for what they voted you in for?
Yeah, it makes zero sense.
I mean, there's another thing the federal government is doing that like isn't widely reported, but like you can find this. Like they will like understand. Like you may think it's super duper based that like Texas is sending the state of Texas is sending these people over to what is essentially like the enemy capital of like the people and freedom.
Yeah.
But the problem is now they're in their custody, and guess what they do with them? They put them in wherever they want. So they'll put them into like small town America to like change the demographics and all that. So like they're still in this country. They're not being deported. They're being moved and relocated to the constituencies that the people in Washington don't like.
And keep in mind,
Right? So it's like this is still bad, right? This isn't changing anything really. It's just a good it's a good photo op, but that's all it is. It's still bad.
yeah, it's a shame that well, I mean, this is the thing. It actually has some good because now it's drawing to policy change, which is what
Again,
Congress is doing
mostly
now.
a photo op thing.
But is it photo op? Because a wall's it's pretty
I
effective.
feel like
at some
Hayes is
points.
going down some kind of like conspiracy.
He
theory
always
route.
does. He goes to some like
it's-
extreme ideology of like why it's the deep state government and they're not actually doing it.
Y'all kill me.
Alex Jones is in court because of that shit. So
Yo, he's fucking
he's
lighting them
losing.
up though.
No, he's losing horribly.
Dude.
because I heard exactly what Walker said that he's losing.
He's making funny quips. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Dude,
he's making funny
it's
quips.
It's good though.
I don't think funny quips win a law.
You should not
when
be
at
telling the prosecution, the opposite side's lawyer, that they're having a Perry Mason moment.
Oh.
But the
It's
southern
like,
border,
wow, you're doing really good right now, buddy.
Let's also talk about immigration and why it's so.
it's a lot worse
damaging.
than people think. Because a lot of people say, hey, yeah, cartels, like, yeah, we'll send you over to America if you'll be a sex slave. They're sex trafficking people into the United States so they can somewhat gain citizenship.
Yep.
They're sending drugs. Saying a lot of shitty things. And hopefully the federal government actually starts seeing that.
Again,
Hayes,
let's
eat away from your microphone.
let's also acknowledge this for a second, okay? Trump also mentioned the things of the people who are coming over aren't necessarily the most law-abiding people, which is true, okay? Look at the statistics. It's 100% a fact, okay? To sit there and say this is all part of globalism, by the way. This is all globalism. It's not caring for one's own country for the idea of the greater good of the globe, okay? Now, whether or not you think that's a good thing, okay, any human with some sort of moral compass, like a Christian moral compass, would probably say I think the world should be good in general, right? But if that means that you have to detriment your own life or the way of living, then I suppose that's where it kind of gets into a dicey area. Okay? Guess what? I don't think China gives a shit about American way of life. I don't think they give a fuck at all. Do they want to be globalists? Yeah, they want to be globalists, but they want to be the ones in control. Okay? Do not be fooled. People often think that, globalists just want the greater good of, the world. No, they want to expand their power from their country to the world. It's a world government. Everyone wants to talk about the Illuminati. Essentially, they want to build the Illuminati. They want a world government. Do not be fooled for a second. It's not out of the kindness of their hearts. It never is. It's about getting more power, getting more money, and your life staying the same. They don't really give a shit.
The funny thing is, I think proper immigration is actually a good sense of nationalism. You think how many people move here and how much they actually fucking fall in love with America. Like just recently, I had like my appointment and shit. I was talking to a Nigerian woman, and she's talking about the values of her hometown where she was at. It's completely different when she came in now, always because of the left and stuff like that. But she's able to bring her values into the United States of America, and she just loves it.
I want to point out when you said that it's them about expanding their base of power and influence and whatever, just for the sake of its own, just what it is. You said that they're going to make their lives better and yours are going to stay the same. That's not quite true. It's going to make yours worse. They're not like increasing value of a thing. That would be interesting, right? It would be a interesting proposition for globalists, as a group of people to say, hey, we're going to expand our influence and power in our coffers, but in exchange, we're also going to lift you up a little more too. That would be something worth considering, but it isn't that at all.
It never is.
They're not increasing the share of the pie. They're not making more pies.
Yeah.
They're taking more of the pie that you have. Because
there's no balance.
They're not adding value.
Yeah, they really aren't ever. And
they never have really.
And
they've just been living off of the roller coaster that's been the end of the Second World War. There was just so much going on that was going right for us at the end of that.
Looking at
it was all, what's that called? It was just the momentum, right, of the post-war period. That's all this has been from like the end of the war to today. Like, we're about to hit apogee, but like we're about to get to the peak, but we're almost there, and it's all been just posting.
So what you're saying is the light at the end of the tunnel wasn't just a light; it was a freight train.
Yeah. Looking at illegal immigration as the problem that it is. Okay, what does that mean? Well, let's take the whole pie, for example. Okay, why is the left so adamant about keeping illegal immigration a thing? Why? Well, illegal immigrants tend to vote Democrat because remember that this is the party of all the government aid. They want to give you as much money as possible without giving you any proper like job. They want you to be dependent on the government. So let's have a massive population of people who are dependent on the government as legal immigrants. Okay, so there's the government aspect of why they want that so desperately, is because it is a constant growth of voter base, essentially. Even though Mexico largely is a conservative country, okay? Also, let's go a little bit deeper here. So that's the government. Why does the government want to? And this is kind of important. Let's talk about the why, the when, the why. Okay, so why does the government want to do this? The left wants to do it because they want to have a consistent voter base and they get free voters, okay?
Yep.
These people don't pay taxes, okay? They only pay sales tax in the respective states. They don't pay federal income tax. They don't do any of that because they're undocumented, okay? So that's a problem. It also has a problem on the local economies in southern Texas and Texas at large. They have, as from a company standpoint, am I going to hire somebody who is off the books, who I can probably pay under the table and not have to worry about any sort of, them expecting minimum wage? It happens all the time. If you care about immigrants...
that right there is the reason why the Republicans always work with the Democrats to not do anything about immigration. They're just as content to let the problem continue because they don't care about their constituents either.
I mean, like our last president was very much not that.
It was just him. Yeah, who else was joined? Who else?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the status.
Governor Abbott.
I don't know Governor Abbott, for example. I don't know any of the status.
Like the number of
again, this seems. Do you have any?
You can have on like one hand.
Do you have any like data about policies and their voting biases?
No.
Because I can tell you one in the future topic here that recent inflation bill.
There are in fact a lot of rhinos.
Yeah.
Like the reason why
the recent inflation bill.
I mean, so for them too.
I feel like a lot of people say that without actually looking at. So, for example, that recent gun legislation that was passed that we talked about a couple episodes ago or last episode. Yeah, I think it was 2 Republicans or something that we talked about who voted in favor of that.
Well, you also had Trump, who was in favor of banning bump stocks and actually enforcing red flag laws. So just because they have a stamp Republican doesn't mean
it doesn't necessarily mean.
Of
course, this is all like to say left and right is sort of ambiguous. It kind of gives you a good guidance of where that person lies overall. Politics is a spectrum. Unironically, the only thing in the world other than the electromagnetic spectrum, the political spectrum, and that's pretty much it. There's no other spectrum other than that. You can pick up the pieces of that.
What about the tisms?
The what?
What?
What? So it has a impact on the economy, okay? And honestly, I would overall, in a generality, disagree with you guys about who really cares about illegal immigration. I think conservatives or Republicans care about immigration to a certain extent.
The base does, but not the leadership. The people they elect don't give a shit.
The states that actually border, that deal with those issues, are the ones that actually care the most. Which they're the ones that are getting so pissed off with the federal government to making these laws. Is like, hey, we know what your constituents need. We're going to put these policies in. And the people that are in those states just get fucking pissed off. Because the reason why they voted for the constituents to get into the state government is they wanted to help actually solve the situation out at the border.
Which is why it's a great thing that Governor Abbott is doing what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is he's sending that problem. Oh, you can't say people are a problem. It's like, no, these people...
The situation is
Are
the
pedophiles a problem?
These people have a drastic impact on the local economy in Texas. It is a problem for the livelihoods of Americans, okay? Again, care about your country. Okay, first off, why do these people want to come here? America is the greatest country in the world. That's why.
The beacon of hope and beacon of freedom.
People aren't moving. Okay, people like lost their fucking hats when Trump said, shithole countries. Yeah, they are shithole countries, okay? There is a reason why these people are leaving. No one moves from a excellent place and goes to a shitty place, which is what the left wants to do.
I mean, that is actually what a lot of people do.
Who?
Well, so if you save up a bunch of money in America...
Do they stay in America, or do they leave?
So you save up a bunch of money in America, and then you go live in Mexico, you don't have to pay as much money to live, because it is a country to live in. And then...
You mean like cost of living is lower?
Yes. Third world country.
I mean, that's a little different than...
so a lot of people do actually do that.
There's a difference than what I'm saying. I'm saying that we are not a third world country. We're a first world country, and people aren't necessarily wanting to...
There's parts of America that definitely like a third world country. Like, let's be real.
Chicago.
What are you talking about?
Detroit.
Infrastructure.
Detroit, Michigan. Yeah. People aren't moving from like good areas. Typically, when we're talking about immigration to America, people aren't coming from good places or good countries where you have all the freedoms that we do or the strong economy as America does. Okay, it's just a simple fact. Okay, people are coming here because America is objectively better.
Well, it also just gives them free shit.
They're also
all the time.
They're also trying to escape, war, also due to socialism.
Yeah. Yep.
You look at El Salvador, look at the CCP. People are trying to move from China over here.
There's multiple reasons why people move, but it's mostly because
we're a bunch of chumps. That's why.
Previous country bad.
They know they can come here.
Previous country bad. Well, I mean, no. The only people that are coming here illegally are from Mexico and South America. Anyone else in the country has to get a visa and fly over and pass through customs. So there's a very big divide between people who are able to do it illegally and legally. Everyone outside of the continental United States or Western Hemisphere comes through the proper channels. They have to.
If you're trying to come here
they
from,
just overstay their visas.
I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're just a bunch of chumps. That's what I was about to get to.
So moving on to Biden's most recent inflation bill, okay? This is
get a load of this.
By far the stupidest thing.
Money inflates.
Yeah, he says that every single time we mention inflation, and I guarantee you,
or something like, how do you inflate
I guarantee you, it gets as many chuckles. Not even a real problem. It gets as many chuckles as we have sponsors. 0.
Shout out to Instacart.
Yeah, right. So Biden recently passed a bill.
Wallet.
Okay, Biden really recently passed a bill on August 7th, which was entitled the Inflation Reduction Act. So Kamala Harris actually had to act as the tiebreaker in this whole ordeal. So it actually does some marvelous things, folks. Are you ready for this? How do we combat inflation? Well, if you're the Biden administration, you increase taxes for nearly everyone in America, and add an additional 87,000 IRS agents. Which ironically will actually increase inflation for the first couple of years of this bill's act. So the Inflation Reduction Act invests $369 billion in order to fight climate change. The thing that we have been dumping money into for a little over a decade now, to little to no effect on the global front. Headlines across the internet are like, leftists are like toting, how the Inflation Reduction Act would fight climate change. Why on God's green earth does anything remotely involving climate change have to be in a bill about inflation is beyond any of us who are outside of the world of government,
if
honestly.
you don't, it's racist.
But in summary, it is to push some of the old stuff that it's just a drain on American tax dollars, really.
Because they want you to own nothing and be happy.
Yep. Tossed into the fucking word soup of this bill, it also provides an additional $80 billion for the IRS to achieve another 87,000 agents. Don't be fooled for a single fucking second, okay? It isn't so that they go after the big old terrible and scary 1% like the left likes to tote around.
That actually would be a good change of pace.
It's to go for you. It's to go after you, the taxpayer. In fairness, we truly say we actually pay a smidgen of the federal income taxes. At the current state of things, 4 out of 5 IRS audits are on people making no income at all to $200,000 a year. About 51% are on those with $75,000 or less in annual income. It is likely that a bill would result in 900,000 fewer jobs, lower the average household income by over $1,000, and ironically increase inflation. It will increase taxes for all Americans. The bill will literally raise taxes in a recession. It would raise taxes by $570 billion, and at least $136 billion would fall on the low to middle income families in the nation. This bill is also going to attack our manufacturers by increasing their taxes and driving more companies to outsource work, basically undoing all the shit that Trump did in his presidency, giving us a beautiful economy and making this country amazing. This bill also is going to go after the energy producers naturally, because you have to go after the energy producers in order to fight climate change. So this bill is also going to go after energy producers. It's going to increase their fees on domestic oil producers by 50%, thus resulting in an eventuality where gas is more expensive yet again. If not even worse than it is now, really. This bill is nothing more than a means for Congress to get more money from the American people to be able to fill their errant spending sprees and shopping lists.
You guys also to fill the coffers of every contracting firm that works with the government. It's just we're just siphoning money to them too.
You guys see the job posting for the IRS for the 87,000?
Yeah.
I'll read it real quick because they took that shit down so fast. So, major duties. Adhere to the highest standards of conduct, especially in maintaining honesty and integrity. Work a minimum of 50 hours per week, which may include irregular hours, and be on call 24/7, including holidays and weekends. Maintain a level of fitness necessary to effectively respond to life-threatening situations on the job. Carry a firearm and be willing to use deadly force if necessary. Be willing and able to participate in arrests, execution of search warrants, and other dangerous assignments. Why did they order 5 million rounds of ammunition, hiring 87,000 employees?
What's the math on that real quick?
What's that, America? You didn't know.
Yeah, how many rounds? How many rounds per employee? Is that a full battle load?
You didn't know.
Just wondering.
That your tax man.
You said how many?
Armed? You didn't know that,
math
America?
real quick.
That's
About
crazy.
5 million rounds. What I've been reading.
5 million divided by 86?
87,000?
87,000? Congrats. Join the join the FBI and you'll be able to get 57 rounds of 9 mil. Shit, I might sign up.
What are they using? Glock 17s?
Probably. You'll have some surplus though.
It's just the fact that you have that popping up, and then you have also the FBI League of extremists and militias, just like that, trying to attack the malicious spirit that America was founded on. It's a bit unnerving.
Okay, let's not even call it that.
It's hard to not
call
put
it militia all you want. They're attacking conservatives. That's what they're doing. They're attacking conservatives.
Regular people.
They want to say they're attacking militias and white supremacists and white extremists. No. You as a conservative are the white supremacist. You are the fucking...
You're always going to be...
libertarians.
They're always going to put you in that boat.
Libertarians are all over that page, too.
Yeah, exactly. Libertarians, I don't understand how, they're a herd of cats. I don't understand why they never, decide, oh, yeah, maybe we should, I don't know, not do this anymore. But, come on. You're going to be... They're giving you the cape. They're forcing you to wear it. You're the bad guy. They're putting on they're putting the black cape on you. You got to understand, you're the target.
Do not be fooled.
You can't just be out on your own.
Do not be fooled.
I don't
know.
You are enemy number one.
Their leadership's been doing pretty good. George Jorgensen with Spike Cohen, I think. Been seeing a lot of what they've been posting and talking about. It's hey, this is coming up. Don't freak out about it just yet, honestly. It's hard to not put on the fucking tinfoil hat and see all this going on at the same time.
But at the same time, they can't audit enough people with 87,000 IRS agents?
Well, we got to get that stimmy back, don't you know?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're paying for it now, so.
The moment the government's going to give you anything, they're probably going to take 10 times back from you. Always be prepared
On the
for
similar
that.
vein of government agencies, as many of you probably already know, Trump was raided by the FBI. What do you guys think about that initially?
I think this is it's bad, but it's good, right? Because I like how people are already on the right and the left trying to say, you know what, it might be the sort of thing a Banana Republic does, but this isn't so bad. Now we can get everyone. It's I love how awful that is. That looks terrible. I love it.
Wow.
But another thing I like is how a lot of conservatives are starting to understand that, the police might be my enemy? Question mark. Like, they're not. They might not always do the right thing. They might do weird shit.
Let's
That's crazy.
differentiate the idea of local law enforcement with
No.
a
Like
government
it's
agency.
all very much like.
I doubt it. Very, very much no.
If the local
one,
police,
one is very. Actually, they're both different. One has little to no funding at all, depending on where you are, and another one is backed by the entire government of the United States.
I mean, we're also just assuming they're always going to be local. Like, there's a chance that, like, in the near future,
Well, you're also talking about
we'll have a federal police organization that's like all police departments across America are like the same.
okay, is that
outfit.
reality now?
Not yet, but it's something people would
Okay,
like.
so that's the tinfoil
It's
we were
something
talking about.
they would like.
no,
but it's
that's
not
not
tinfoil.
We're getting back into
No.
the tinfoil.
No,
conspiracy
that's
theory.
something people would like.
There's,
in the
the
government.
federal police agency.
Nobody would like that. There's not.
No,
I
the
don't
government-
think anyone.
the government
I don't
would-
think anyone has
people in the
really
government would like it.
advocated for that.
If we fall apart as a union and just become actual like a one solid piece and just call it the United States,
Yeah.
and there's no California, Texas, Minnesota,
Yeah, it's all
anything,
one thing. Yeah,
then yeah, but that will never happen.
you hope so.
How? Do you know how many things do you think would have to happen for that to do so?
I mean, they could just call all police organizations
Every-
racist, and then they're like, we need
every-
federal oversight.
Every single state would have to
Agree.
dissolve.
Essentially, yeah, you're right.
And every single state normally has their own state constitution.
So yeah, very, very big tinfoil, very thick foil you're using.
That's the whole roll right there.
Nah, man.
Yeah, that's like a very thick hat there. You have a whole suit, actually. So the FBI raided Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. If that doesn't sound rich, then I'm not sure what would. The FBI entered Trump's home on a
Small loan of $1
warrant
million.
supposedly related to a potential mishandling of classified documents or violations of the Presidential Records Act. Trump was not in the residence, and the staff were ordered to turn off the security cameras by the 40 FBI agents. The FBI said that there have been suspected issues of improper storage of classified information at the residence. Just to be sure, they opened his safe.
I mean, that makes sense if you're searching at premises for something you think is illegal. I'm not just going to not open your safe.
What would be illegal in this context? We'll talk about that in a second. This wasn't about classified documents at all. It was entirely motivated by political rivalries and authoritarianism. Media sources, as well as the lemmings in the public sphere, are parroting that Trump had classified documents, as if he wasn't allowed to. Those people have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, okay? Where were the investigations and raids on Hunter Biden? Where are the raids on the Little Black Book from Ghislaine Maxwell? Or Epstein, sorry. Nowhere, and they are never coming, by the way. Don't hold your breath. Do not be fooled. These government agencies are no more than pawns for the political elites, petty games of retaining power, okay? What do we know from the FBI raid? We know this. The FBI subpoenaed Trump for and did indeed receive the CCTV footage of the raid, okay? The FBI told Trump's lawyers that you must leave the property right now, turn off all security cameras. The FBI also would not provide the search warrant to Trump's lawyers. The raid was based on information from a FBI confidential human resource or source, according to two senior government officials. Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, was asked about threats to the FBI that the FBI is receiving from Trump supporters. The FBI even said, and is quoted as saying, the right-wing influencer Steven Crowder delivered an alarming message to his nearly 2 million followers on Twitter. Sleep well, tomorrow is war, which was the quote that Steven Crowder
Oh, you missed one part of
submitted.
his quote. He said, Inshallah, and that's how he ended the broadcast. Oh, my God.
No, he did not, folks.
I have a statement from President Trump, or former President Trump. Still, technically, you use the title after they are no longer in the office. But so, statement by Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States of America. These are dark times for our nation as my beautiful home, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, is currently under siege, raided, and occupied by a large group of FBI agents. Nothing like this has ever happened to a president of the United States before.
True.
After working and cooperating with the relevant government agencies, this unannounced raid on my home was not necessary or appropriate. It is prosecutorial misconduct, the weaponization of the justice system, and an attack by radical left Democrats who desperately don't want me to run for president in 2024, especially based on recent polls, and who will likewise do anything to stop Republicans and conservatives in the upcoming midterm elections. Such an assault could only take place in broken third world countries. Sadly, America has now become one of those countries, corrupt at a level not seen before. They even broke into my safe. What is the difference between this and Watergate, where operatives broke into the Democrat National Committee? Here, in reverse, Democrats broke into the home of the 45th President of the United States. The political persecution of Donald J. Trump has been going on for years, with the now fully debunked Russia scam, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and so much more. It just never ends. It is political targeting at the highest level.
Probably like the least stupid thing he's ever released.
It is literally
like
topical.
the most like actually coherent
Yeah.
thing he's ever released.
It is literally like could not be said better because look at this shit, okay? He mentioned look at the statistics.
I like how he said the Russia hoax.
Yeah. Look at the polls recently, okay? People are more likely to vote for a candidate who is backed by Trump. Okay, it's a fact.
It's happening all around. Just recently here in Washington, actually, I think Joe Kent is his name. The Republican primary, he just passed up. Can't remember,
Yeah.
but passed up by like 100 votes. It's
Because
close, but they are voting. Carrie Lake.
People miss Trump. People miss not having to pay $5 for gas everywhere across the country.
No, it's your patriotic
People miss
civic
that
duty
shit.
to do so.
People miss that shit. Okay,
It's your patriotic
Democrats
civic
know
duty
this.
to go buy a Tesla.
They tried impeaching former President Donald Trump.
Well, they did
once.
impeach him.
Twice.
They tried doing it again and still failed.
He was impeached and then acquitted.
Oh, they tried doing it and he was acquitted. So that's what that means.
No,
they
he
tried
was
and
impeached.
failed. They tried
That's how the
and
process
failed.
works. So to even like go to the trial portion of it,
He
you
was
have to be impeached.
He was acquitted twice, and here he is. Okay, they really don't want him running in 2024. They absolutely don't want that because they know their asses will lose. They know that 100%. So let's go on some sort of random spree and saying that he's mishandling documents, and then getting all the fucking lemmings in the country.
Is everyone forgetting about the Clinton emails?
Yeah.
Are they forgetting about that staff sergeant that was put in jail
We
for
forget-
like 20 years for having like some emails on his
We forget.
fucking laptop?
We
and shit?
forget about Hillary Clinton's emails, and she's still in Congress. We
Like,
forget
if you're a
about
service member and you do even a fucking 20th of the sort of shit that she did on her home servers on your work computer, and you do it just slightly wrong, you're liable to be like put in jail.
Again, the
right?
issue,
Like that's just how the law
issue,
works. But like it only happens to them, little people, right? Peons. But like to people like Hillary or her ilk, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Obama does
And the
shit like
issue-
this. It wouldn't matter if Joe
the
did shit like
issue
this.
isn't that she had it; it's that she deleted them,
Like
which
even
you're
if-
just not supposed to
The
do.
only other person that could conceivably like get in hot water for some like digital mismanagement of like state secrets
Well, she deleted them after the subpoena.
would be Bush, right? Maybe Bush, right? That doesn't seem
And-
like
and
likely
look
to
at-
me, but
look
it's possible.
Look at what's happening. Okay, it's the same shit. All the news headlines are Trump had classified documents in his Mar-a-Lago home. Okay, just like how they
trying
did.
to say that he flushed documents down the
He
toilet.
was-
and
yeah,
all they
when
had
he
was like a
wasn't there.
handwritten-
The sticky
a
notes.
handwritten note or something.
when he wasn't there. And also, let's keep in mind this as well. Look at what they did with Roe versus Wade. Okay, what were the headlines? Supreme Court destroys women's rights. Okay. Trump had classified documents. Dun dun dun. Relying on people's ignorance to the fact that former presidents have the ability to review classified documents. They can still use them. They can still see them. They're technically still part of the government.
They had them.
They still have Secret Service agents.
I don't know if they're still
I
part of
mean,
the government,
I
but I
got
know
another
that it was
headline that was
legal
funny.
for him to have them one day, and then the next day,
Carter,
like he wasn't supposed to have access to them, but he already did.
President Carter,
There was a
declassified shit after his presidency.
There was a skiff at Mar-a-Lago.
Is there really?
Yeah, there was.
That's
or at least there
crazy.
is.
I didn't
There
know
is
that.
or was a skiff
President
at Mar-a-Lago.
Carter declassified shit after his presidency. After his presidency, okay? Presidents are allowed to have fucking classified documents. It's how it is. You know what it is? Okay, a human source is what the FBI said as to why they got tipped off or quote unquote tipped off to something.
And it's
Information-
supposed
probably
to a
only,
robot
like-
source.
There's probably only about 5 or 6 people next to Trump that knew about those documents in Mar-a-Lago.
Probably like a Twitter handle with like
Information-
5 followers.
Information from a FBI confidential human source. Okay, yeah, confidential because we keep people. It's a fucking excuse. I don't believe there's any remotely close to an actual person who is like concerned.
It was
It's
probably a
bullshit.
Twitter. It was someone on Twitter.
It's
said,
bullshit.
It's probably legal shit in
It's
Mar-a-Lago."
it's bullshit. Okay, one, they also had to open his safe. Okay, let's look at that for a second. Why would they have to open it? We're concerned because remember the premise of this is improper storage of classified documents. Okay, why the fuck do you need to open a safe? Isn't that like secure?
They also released the warrant if you haven't read it yet.
Welcome back. Short little break. Found some interesting things. Tyler will go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, basically the warrant. Which, I mean, it's just general, legal verbiage. Like, hey, this is what we're doing on this date and what we're looking for, which is on attachment B. But the real interesting thing is attachment B, line C. So that, to me, it seems like they're trying to make it out to look for any classified documentation, which they obviously did find some, because there's a whole list of shit that's on there too. But line C is any government and or presidential records created between January 20th, 2017 and January 20th, 2021.
Incredible.
Which seems to me is they're trying to look for anything related to January 6th.
Which is hilarious because the only thing that Trump was involved in was just giving a speech. A speech where he said that you should fight like hell. And of course, the dumb left can't parse what that possibly means, because if it's violence for their cause, then it's fine. But what it really means is like, hey, don't stand for this shit. And he even said in his speech to go and peacefully protest. Let your voices be heard.
Well, you've seen leftist peaceful protests, so they imagine, of course, it's just going to be an outright
they're like, oh
riot,
my God.
civil war.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's probably what was going on. Is they're trying to find literally anything to stop Trump from going for president in 2024. That's what it is.
Pretty much.
They are literally trying their hardest and willing to embarrass themselves.
They're not embarrassed. They'll never. There's no shame.
Oh, you have to be self-aware or have some minor sense of intelligence to be embarrassed. They are trying their damnedest.
There's just no shame.
They are trying their damnedest. Hey, FBI, I have a question. Why haven't you looked into Hunter Biden's laptop? Why aren't the client lists of Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein available? Why isn't there no looking into there? Why? Because these government agencies are not. They're not. It's not about applying the law equally. It's not at all about that. It is taking down political opponents. It is about attacking you as a citizen, regardless of whether or not you're a leftist or left or right. They don't care. Just taking you down. If you owe the government money and you're a liberal, sorry, you are going to be attacked. You're going to be attacked by the IRS. It's just going to happen. It is nothing about improving society at large. It is literally only to get their hands on whatever you have, and like Tyler said earlier, you're gonna own nothing and you're gonna like it. That's it. Fucking hell.
You're gonna sit there and fucking enjoy it.
Bastards.
Speaking of which, you get government protecting pedophiles all the time.
Yay.
And transing the kids.
It's not news. We've known that for a while.
But this trans activist. So I'm gonna tell you what the headlines have been. Conservatives accuse trans activists of a drug ring. They're accusing, even though they came out and publicly said and actually deleted their Instagram post. Yeah, I'm gonna read the post. It's actually.
You know what's mind-boggling? Why is it that we can acknowledge, and it's not accusatorial. It's like a fact that Epstein ran a trafficking ring, and so did Ghislaine Maxwell. We can acknowledge that, but we can't, like, we're immediately questioning the idea of a trans person, a trans activist doing a drug ring.
Yeah, that's the same reason why you find all these YouTubers that are getting caught up in all this fucking pedophilia and shit.
It's mostly they're a protected class.
And then. No, I wouldn't say protected. Not what I'm talking about. So you have like all these gamers and shit. Like, you know, a lot of people grew up watching on YouTube.
I meant the
pedophiles, and then you look at James Charles, who was caught up in the same kind of thing. And guess what? They're still making hand over fist and money and fucking makeup.
Yep.
Because they're gay. That's it.
Yep.
They can get away with
acceptable behavior.
Acceptable. So back to that post. So this is from. I'm not even going to say their name. We don't give them publicity. But there are over 20 states trying to criminalize hormone therapy, particularly for trans youth.
Good.
So my friends and I had an idea. Sending out our extra prescriptions around the country. If you need hormones, I'm working with the distribution network to get you access. Everything is free. No questions asked. We have hundreds of doses. I'm not going to go over the fucking... It's too many words. Available right now. Are prescribed by doctors and unused. Each package comes with information on doses, obtaining blood work, etc. I realize this is only a band-aid solution. We need full access to affirmative medical care from professionals immediately. However, missing a single dose of hormones can be devastating, especially for trans teens and those new to hormones. These laws are outrageous, and I can't wait for them to be overturned. In the meantime,
I can't wait for more.
DM me if you need HRT or if you have overprescribed hormones you'd like to send out.
Man, fuck the government for trying to protect children. I want to do the exact opposite. I am so fucking irate right now. Can you I am going to break the law because I need to give drugs to children.
I just have to. I just have to give. Yeah.
I love the fucking that quote there of they're prescribed by doctors. Oh, you mean prescribed to you or the people they're for?
This is also a PhD candidate over at UCSC. And Matt Walsh is the one that's actually bringing a lot of attention to this. And he tweeted, so UCSC has not responded to my inquiries about their PhD candidate who confessed to trafficking prescription hormones to minors. USCS is a public institution and has no right to ignore us. I encourage you to reach out to the officials below and voice your concerns. And now they posted on their Instagram stories like, Matt just doxed my school chancellor, and then they called for transgenocide.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's always the extreme because you have to vote for fucking victimhood. No, listen here, folks, okay? Gender change hormone therapy is the most damaging thing you can do to a child other than going on for surgery, okay, is the most damaging thing. Talk about higher risks of cancer. Talk about other diseases that come along with that. If you are a parent, and I literally guarantee you, because I know the statistics, many people don't. If your child is saying some crazy shit like, I'm a girl, when it's your son, and you like either ignore it.
You need to get him into homeschooling immediately.
Take him out of public school. That's one thing you need to do. Two, if you explain to him why he is not, if you explain to him, if you literally just ignore it, it literally goes away.
If they try and do a parent-teacher conference with that, I'm like, hey, resource officer, can you come with me? Because I might violently fucking punch this to the mouth.
No, you should be like, hey, officer, I think there's a pedophile in this room.
9 times out of 10, the kids get over it. It is a phase, especially with the current public school system where they're subjected to all this shit. They just think they are, okay? They're not, okay? You putting your kids on hormone blockers, you are damning them to having cancer in the future.
Think about that. You're blocking something that's part of their natural, like...
Do you understand the health implications of too much estrogen? Do you know what we do to women with breast cancer? We put them on estrogen blockers because estrogen is well known to have massive effects for cancer. It's pro-cancer. And here we are saying, oh, little Timmy, who wants to be called Tina, says she's a girl, let's pump him full of estrogen pills because, in the short term of, say, 30, 40 years, he'll feel good. Oh, wait, no, statistically he's not, because actually he's likely to kill himself.
More likely.
If he doesn't kill himself, he'll probably succumb to cancer. If you're a parent, get a fucking grip. No one really gives a fuck that you're toting on Facebook or Twitter that you're transing your kid. No one cares. No one fucking cares. The only people who care...
No, I care. Just not the way you want me to.
The only people that care are people who don't care if your kid dies.
No, I care. I don't want you to do it.
There's people saying like, "Oh, this isn't happening," but then you look at, Boston's Children's Hospital. They're allowing, they're actually proud of this, but teen hysterectomies. And I don't know if you guys know what a hysterectomy is. That's literally removing
teen hysterectomies. You say
all of
they're proud of it.
Female genitalia.
Yeah, basically,
they're proud of teen hysterectomies.
And stuff.
That's awesome. That's literal genital mutilation in Africa. That's what we're talking about.
Yes, we're so proud that we're talking to teenagers and removing their fallopian tubes, ovaries, as well as uterus. We are such a great organization.
Here's fucking culture of death. This whole fucking country, dude.
Here's the ad.
It's an ad.
Gender-affirming hysterectomy is very similar
a gender-affirming
to most hysterectomies. A hysterectomy itself is the removal of the uterus, the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus, and the fallopian tubes, which are attached to the sides of the uterus. Some gender-affirming hysterectomies will also include the removal of the
What does
ovaries,
that language
but that's
even
technically
mean,
a separate
gender-affirming
procedure called
hysterectomy?
bilateral oophorectomy. And not every gender-affirming hysterectomy includes that, and people who are getting gender-affirming hysterectomies do not have to have their ovaries removed.
You know what else they're doing? So they're allowing programs for social affirming for kids as young as 9 years old. And if they are set up with that gender for 1 year, 10-year-olds are getting double mastectomies. 10-year-olds.
It really is hard to love this country sometimes.
And guess what? It is all covered by Medicaid.
Oh, cool. I'm paying for it. That's awesome.
Taxpayer dollars, baby.
Okay, let's sit here for a second, okay? You Walker mentioned the language. What is the language used there? Okay, they say affirming a lot. You know what that means? It just means succumbing to what somebody says because it makes them feel better.
Well, there is a more practical
Quote unquote, making them feel better.
Right.
It has nothing to do based on reality. It has nothing to do about what is actually good for you medically.
Okay.
It is all about what you say, and so that way you can be like, yes, I am this, and I'm forcing everyone around me to use my pronouns.
That's exactly
and I'm
right.
changing the world around me because I myself, I'm Satanist. I'm a Satanist ultimately, and my body is my temple, and I am God, and I make
and
everyone
you have to
else
submit to me.
and you have to submit
call
to
me what I tell you to call me.
No.
Regardless of what really is going on.
I
here.
have a full beard. No, I am a woman, and you shall call me such. Otherwise, I shall get my gremlins upon you.
Now, I'm the first
and
one.
You shall be
I'm the first
canceled.
person to say some shit about Peterson, like, because I don't really like him much. But guess what? That's exactly why he got fired from his fucking position at the fucking university he was at. You remember that shit? You remember that shit, Brendan? You remember? Remember that shit?
Say again.
Sorry, were you choking on that vape over there, bud?
No. It was just what
Oh my
I did
God.
to Walker.
Christ.
He was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, eh.
Listen, man.
The listeners won't know.
So listen.
Sorry,
remember
Sean.
when Peterson got fired from his position at the university?
Yeah.
It's because he wouldn't call some lady a man. Okay.
He did something on Twitter.
This has a practical matter of like it's not really gender. It's not social affirming or what you call it. What was it called, Walker?
Gender affirming hysterectomy?
Gender affirming.
Yeah, something like that. It's not about affirming their little thing. It's about reinforcement against everyone else.
Yeah.
You have to submit. You have to like you have to get down on the knee and like humiliate yourself in front of these people.
It's essentially bend the knee.
to be left alone.
Yep.
Right.
And the funny thing is,
Fuck you.
people-
I won't do it. I'll be fired from the government before I let that shit happen. Fuck you.
people are literally suing hospitals for this because they're saying they're being denied essential health care.
It's not essential. You're just trying to humiliate
because they're
them.
not being
Fuck
damaged
you.
by it to begin with. You know what they're doing?
Okay.
They're saying, you're going to give me this surgery or I'm going to kill
Okay,
myself.
first
That's
off-
what's happening.
First off, any doctor, and in my world, in my United States, any doctor who even remotely says the words gender affirming immediately loses their license, is actually jailed for malpractice, and like
Jailed.
you literally are
Straight to
breaking.
jail.
You're literally, with all the shit we know, all these dire health ramifications in the future. Guess what? If I want to make a vagina, if I want to get a fucking phalloplasty, even though I'm already equipped, if I'm a woman, I want to become a man, and I get a phalloplasty, they remove some of the muscles from my forearm, which is a scar that's permanently there. And then I have to take constant medication to fight infection. Oh. Because
It's
your
not natural.
body's literally rejecting it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then guess what? You can get sepsis and die.
That-
you are breaking one of the most fundamental fucking oaths you take as a doctor, and that's the Hippocratic Oath, where you will do no
Nobody
harm.
actually cares about that
But
shit.
that,
You will do no harm. You're breaking it. You're
That-
not a doctor.
that Boston Children's Hospital is allowing that at 17.
You're just a fucking sellout who wants to get internet clout.
Let's
you
be
don't
honest,
care.
they're all sellouts.
You want money. That's what it is. You want money, and you're a disgusting human being. You are killing people. You are damning people to cancers. You are damning people to die before 40 years old. That is what you're doing, and I think you're a fucking disgrace.
You know what's funny? Also, so I was doing research on like mental health around the area because they were saying, hey, check this out. These are provided by Tracker for free. You can be seen off posts, all of them gender affirming. Like, no, I'm not gonna go see you. I'm good. I've got a bias against that. But if you're a full-grown adult, fucking just go for it. If you want to do what you do, go for it. Leave the fucking kids alone.
You know what I want?
They'll never leave him alone, though.
I want this.
It's always been about
I
kids.
agree. Leave the kids alone. If you're a grown-ass adult over the age of 18, sure. But I want it to be fucking mandatory that every single fucking healthcare, quote-unquote, clinic or gender-affirming physician, basically a lying physician, they're no better than lawyers at this point, it should be mandatory that they have a fucking sheet, just like how there's a fact sheet for every fucking vaccine you take or every operation. There needs to be a whole statistical analysis about the outcomes of these surgeries. There needs to be information lambasted all over the office about what your life will look like post-op and what you'll have to do every single day for the rest of your life. Otherwise, you die. That needs to be available everywhere, because what's happening right now is they're lying to kids, saying that it's fine, it's consequenceless, there's nothing ever can go wrong. And so many kids later in life who are trans when they were young are like, I wish my parents were parents.
Well,
I wish my parents said no.
We don't have the data on a lot of that either, because hormone transfer, this is very new. It's fucking new. We don't know the risks at the end of it.
You don't have to have that, because all the shit that's being done, the hormone replacement therapies, we know the statistics and data on what effects those hormones
Currently.
have on people.
So I say short to midterm, but not long term.
It's
not
no
quite.
surprise. And transgender things, it's only become such a big problem now. It's been going on for decades. It's been going on for fucking decades. We know the problems. We know the healthcare implications. And the fact of that alone, and we know this shit, is what makes it so much worse. That's what makes it so much. We know what goes wrong. We know the health implications after. We're just lying to people. That's what makes this so egregious. If it was brand new, then okay, well, we have to get the market data. We have to get the research data. We have to get all that shit. No, we have that shit. We are just lying to people, saying that, no, this is a consequenceless operation and you'll feel better about yourself. Oh, what? She killed herself 10 days after? Oh, she killed herself 10 years after? That's crazy. We don't think that ever happens. That would never happen. That's a new data point. Oh my God.
Elmo is sick and tired of your shit.
So, one
That's us
interesting
getting
thing,
sued by Sesame Street.
I've been doing a little bit of research, listening to some podcasts, Morgan Zager's Freedom Records. Was going more into the rise of socialism, like shit we weren't really taught about, because we were taught about, the Nazis, how they came to power. And socialism, you think of Mao Zedong and Great Leap Forward and the CCP in China. Mm-hmm. They started with the children. They started indoctrinating the children.
Yeah, it's always a youth program.
They started from the bottom up, and they were changing things like math textbooks, which they're trying to do now. And instead of, in their case, they were doing it by class. So they would change the math books. Johnny had 5 apples and this, he sold this many. How many does he have now? But now it's like, this social worker has this amount of grain. How much is subsidized by the government? And it's like, huh?
Or even now, liberal textbooks like, Johnny identifies a woman. You have to call Johnny Jenny now. Okay, by the way, she has 5 apples.
So here in America,
But they identify as having 10.
So instead of by classes over in China, they're actually trying to do it by gender and by race in America. So they're following the same blueprint. It's kind of questionable to be looking into. And you have things like Red Guards, which were very leftist organizations that went around and terrorized people to make them believe, follow the belief of this leader.
Yeah.
And it's just,
All this shit is terrible. Such terrible things. I need to drink more. Anything else you guys want to talk about? We're going to close the podcast.
I think I'm good.
All right. Thank you all so much for joining us.
You got any more batshit crazy theories?
Any
yeah,
batshit
fucking
foil
pull out
shit?
pull out some tinfoil. I want to hear something.
Hey, there's a 2001 Okasha M985 for $26,000. Online.
It's pronounced Oshkosh.
Thank you all so much for joining me and the guests here for the whole magazine. As always, have a good one.